Got a podcast normally about Dragon Ball. From Earth to Jirai to Geminar, we're here to cover it all. My name is Randy.
And I'm the first Prince of Jirai, Doug.
And you took mine, because I'm Ken, but I'm actually Yosho.
Spoilers!
Oh my gosh.
We're the world's strongest under the heavens, Choshin, here every other week to talk your ear off about some alien girls and some spaceships and some laser swords, because we're talking Tenchi this week. It's our bonus series where we're going through Tenchi Muyo OVA 1, episodes 1 through 7. And we're here, boys. We made it to episodes 5 and 6, and I'm excited. Are you excited? I know I am.
Let's get to it.
Are you looking for our impressions now, or are we?
I mean, no. I just wanted to know if you're excited. I'm trying to drum up some energy here. Come on.
I just didn't know where in the show we were yet.
Randy's going off script.
Keep you on your toes, going a little wild here. Tuesday nights, oof, they get crazy. Anyway, like I said, we're here to talk about episodes 5 and 6, but I wanted to bring up something with you, the listener, the watcher, regarding things going forward, because we're only doing Tenchi OVA 1, 7 episodes, and tell you what, it's murder doing editing and recording every single week with our regular schedule, and it's rough, but I don't know. I love Tenchi, and I want to keep doing it. I want to watch it with you guys and keep it going. So I'm trying to figure out what can we do to keep that up. And I wanted to pitch to you guys, how would you feel if we did a live-ish series where we cover at least OVA 2, and we'll see where we go from there. And by live-ish, I mean, we don't really edit it. This is just going to be kind of our raw recordings here, our raw thoughts, a lot of ums and things like that that'll be still kept in. For the video version, Ken wouldn't
Doug
be...
can't help himself like he's doing right now.
Exactly. For the video version, Ken wouldn't be in there throwing in screenshots and doing all the cool things that he does, some nice transitions and zoom ins and things. It'd be bare bones, but it would be us continuing and doing it. Is that something you're interested in? Let us know via Blue Sky or email or whatever. Reach out to us. Let us know because, I want to keep doing it, but can't do it like this.
God, I gotta tell you listeners that they are so dedicated to this editing. It's constant on Discord, just hey, did you guys have dinner tonight? And whatever, I edited 3 hours of Tenchi podcast, and look at my timeline. It's whoa, it's 3 a.m.
So yeah, for me, it's just 2.
It's just 2. But I feel like you guys deserve a break if you can. So doing it raw would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it would be a neat way to do it, and it would get us through it. It's just a matter of, can me and Ken sit there and all right, there it is. I could edit it. I could just make some changes, and then that would be...
That was the original plan for this, was that I wasn't going to do any video editing at all. And then I ended up doing just as much editing as I do in one of our Dragon Ball
you're going to do that again, yeah.
So maybe, Doug and I will have to do an intervention with Ken just every day, you didn't edit today, right? Better not have.
He's gonna be like an addict, just one edit, just one cut, just one cut.
Just a little cut. That's all I want.
I gotta cut out this part where Doug said this one thing.
Yeah, Doug. So call them Jiraians instead of Jirais, and it's a whole mess.
We don't even get us started. Actually, do get us started on the actual conversation here, which of course is talking about Tenchi Muyo, Ryo-Ohki, and of course talked about it before, original creation by Masaki Kajishima and Hiroki Hayashi. Hiroki Hayashi, I learned, only worked on OVA 1, so after episode 7, he's out of here. He's going to do other stuff. El Hazard, which is a show done by AIC, the same people who made this. And, you might know them from Bubblegum Crisis, Persona 4, the animation, all that other fun stuff. And it was originally pitched as a comedy-based follow-up to Bubblegum Crisis, was rejected, and then they took that to make Tenchi Muyo. And, of course, there's a bunch of different timelines, but we're only focusing on the original first OVA timeline, which is kind of the main one and what most of the, stuff is based off of. So if you started here and you're still sticking here, you're still doing it right. It's okay. You're on the right track. So, guys... Temperature check, episodes 5 and 6. How did we feel about this? Doug, I assume you just finished watching.
I did. My internet cut out real quick, but I did manage to watch both dub and sub. And I have to say, I'm really mad that none of you told me that this was the greatest goddamn show in all of history.
Yes!
Where did this plot come from? I thought it was just going to be a Gilligan's Island full of we got to get off Earth, ladies, come on, and just hijinks consume. But there's an actual kind of plot here that was super enjoyable. Love these episodes.
Gosh, that's great to hear. Ken, how are you feeling?
I really like it, but There's something. No, okay, just hear me out for a second. My memories of Tenchi is that there's a lot more slice of life stuff. And I think a lot of that comes in OVA 2 and in Universe. And to me, when I think back on Tenchi, that's the Tenchi I love the most. So to have got through all of OVA 1, I mean, I know we still have episode 7 left, but to have gotten through it and really these 2 episodes are like all plot directly, this isn't what I love Tenchi for, but it's still really good and a lot to sink your teeth into.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, like Doug, I watched these episodes multiple times. And actually, in the past week, I've watched these episodes 3 times. I watched it English dubbed. Last night, I watched it subtitled. And today, I watched the Tsunami version that aired on TV.
Edited for your pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. Wanted to have it be comprehensive. Figured I might as well go all out. And like I said, I love these 2 episodes. So I figured if I'm going to do it, why not have it be these 2? So yeah, I love it. This plot goes crazy, buck wild, and twists and turns galore. And man, just so much lore and so much stuff that, affects things coming down the line. But that's all I wanted to say there. I loved it. So let's just jump into talking about episode 5, Kagato Attacks, which originally came out February 25th, 1993. So the previous one came out, it was like November, and then it was December, early December, it was like December 10th. And now it's been like another month and a half rather than a month in between these episodes. So I'm going to give it to you here. Here's the overall events, and then we're going to dive into all of our thoughts and things. Winter is here, and despite the serene, peaceful atmosphere, the galactic criminal Kagato arrives and attacks a group of unlikely roommates. Kagato finds everything he's been looking for right here: his former enslaved pirate Ryoko, Crown Princess Ayeka, the Master Key, and Tenchi's grandfather, who has actually been Yosho living among humans all these centuries. After fending him off, Tenchi sets off with Ayeka and Mihoshi aboard Ryo-Ohki to save the kidnapped Ryoko and put an end to Kagato, which comes to an unfortunate and sudden end. Oh boy. Lots of stuff happening in this one. It's snowing. That's fun.
It's snowing, and it's so great how at first you and Tenchi first think like, oh, this must be Ryoki's first snow, and that's why he's kind of yelling at the sky. Nope. Not the reason why.
No, there's more to come. So.
Also, I have to say, I love how almost all the episodes, they start off with a little bit of the show starts, and then there's a theme song for the title card. You know what I mean? And it's such a charming sound. It just sets the tone of like a peaceful, like, oh yeah, it's just nice. You know what I mean?
It's cozy. I love it.
It's really cozy.
We had talked about how the sound design for this show has been, spectacular. Also, just the soundtrack is so good. And unfortunately, I did not look up who the composer is, but oof, man, it makes me very happy. It's been a couple of weeks, so last time we left off episode 4, there was that thing at the end where Sasami had a dream of Kagato showing up, and then we had him arrive at Ryoko's shrine looking around for her, and then he shows up in the sky, and Ryoko's like, oh, here he comes. But now it's been a month and a half, and nothing happened, and they're all just chilling. So that was odd, but hey, Ryoko has made a new floating onsen. I assume she loved the one that they went to on vacation last time, so why not make my own?
What? I didn't even realize that. What?
Yeah, it's just like, floating above the lake.
Yeah, oh, that's so cool. There's nothing I want more than to be in an onsen while it's snowing, though. That just looks so nice, too.
Oh, yeah, I know. Right? When she looks up and you see the snow falling down, I was like, oh, man, that must be so serene.
Bliss,
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. But unfortunately, the serenity is ruined because she's, in the bath with Ayeka, who is super drunk on sake.
They still seem like they're having a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it escalates a little bit.
Right. I mean, they're just kind of picking on each other here and there, but clearly they're in there together because they want to. It's not like they're forced to.
This wouldn't have happened a month ago or whatever when they first met. Definitely not.
No. Absolutely not. So them chilling is nice. We have Ayeka making fun of Ryoko, and then Ryoko gets to talk about her history with Tenchi, which is kind of like these little small flashbacks of like her consciousness being outside of the sealed temple thing, watching him as he grows up.
Watching Tenchi's, but this is huge. This is this sets everything that I thought before this about Ryoko, like, oh, she actually does care about this boy. It's incredible.
Yeah.
On one hand, I feel like this answers a lot of my questions about why is Ryoko into Tenchi and care about him so much. And then on the other hand, it's still weird. It's still somehow not any better. She's known him since he was a little kid. Yeah.
Even though she didn't do anything to you still get that vibe. It's like with 2025 year eyes, you're like, this isn't right.
Yeah, if you grow up with like a little kid, you grow up, or you don't think of them that way. I mean, I don't know. There's like 70-year-old dudes out here dating 40-year-old women, so who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
710 seems a lot more different, but yeah.
I think it's sweet, but also, it's strange.
Well, and that's one thing about this show in a nutshell, is that there are lots of really strange subtexts to all of these things, but they're presented in very sweet ways. And you kind of have to just take them at face value.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it for too much, then people get added on lists and you don't want to be there.
That's true. I did want to point out, because there's a couple of things that he's doing, like, he's out catching bugs with his net. He's making, hot potatoes over the flame. And then there is a couple of points there. Doug, you watched both Japanese subtitled and the English dub.
Yes.
Ken, you just watched the dub, right?
Just the dub, yeah.
Okay. So there is a woman in this, and if you only watch the dub, who calls for Tenchi, and she says, "Oh, Grandma, I thought you were Grandpa." And then we get another thing later in these flashbacks where he is crying about his grandma passing. And that's incorrect. Mistranslation. It's his mother. So that woman back there was not grandma, it was mom. And then, of course, it's his mother who passed, not his grandmother.
Yeah.
But she was like hella old.
Incorrect.
She
She's
just
not
had
hella
white-
old. She
white
just has
hair.
white hair.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
his mom had white hair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
I know. For a second there, like, is this the grandma? But yeah.
Yeah. No, she's got a very smooth skin. It's just the way that her hair is pulled back and like completely white. That's like, oh, that must be an old lady. It throws me off. I don't like that character design, but
So really, we jump to conclusions because of her hair color. We need to really reflect on ourselves.
Reflect on ourselves.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I can't remember. Is there any like a lot of things that take place in between Ryoko wrapping this whole thing up of talking about how she's really known Tenchi his entire life, basically, and then Ayeka being mean. Oh, Mihoshi shows up.
She shows up, and she's like, every girl now has a reason to love Tenchi. Like, and it's whether it's dumb or not. Like now, if you look at one character, they're like, oh, okay, this Tenchi means something to them, to each and every single one of them now. So whenever he gets hurt, it's like serious.
I don't fall into the camp of, when picking out a ship, if anybody's like, oh, I'm diehard Mihoshi and Tenchi, I'm like, I don't think they have enough going on between them to really warrant that. She's just thankful that, he saved her. And,
Yeah, literally, I fell in love when I heard that he did that to me, like saved me or whatever. So I was like, okay, great.
But it's all good. And then things kind of get really thrown out of whack when, surprise, Kagato's here, guys.
But the tone of the show does such a good job, though, of like, it's a threat, and then Ryoko immediately changes into an outfit, like going from naked to clothed. But then you see Mihoshi and oh my god, what's her name? Ayeka?
Ayeka.
Yeah.
Ayeka, like, immediately like, pervert! And start throwing at him, and his face like, oh, I'm sorry, kind of thing. It's so hilarious.
Sake, like, cups and, shampoo bottles.
Yeah, it's a very
like,
delicate balance to be able to do that, like, toe the line of comedy and serious, and they nailed it right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love Kagato. He looks great. He sounds great.
In both dub and sub, he sounds great.
Dude, in the dub, this guy is here to party, dude.
He is. He's so good.
He sounds to me like Benedict Cumberbatch, like faking an American accent as Doctor Strange. And but like they brought him into the studio, and Randy, what did you say his pseudonym was?
Weston Peas.
Yeah, like rest in peace. So he comes in. This guy's already cool. He comes in, and they're like, okay, just have a good time voicing this character. And so like all of his inflections are like, well, hello, I'm here, Ryoko.
Yeah.
But he can get, loud, but he's also still just like, I don't know, very theatrical about things whenever he's talking.
But I will say the sound mixing on the dub was pretty poor. I don't know if you guys listen with headphones on. trying to actually listen to this thing on a speaker when the music is like kicked up and Kagato is already doing like a pretty, like, he's not like screaming into his microphone. He's just kind of like chilling, talking.
Yeah.
And there were parts where I just straight up couldn't hear what he was saying.
Oh, okay.
Well, it is very interesting that I wanted to note is that the Japanese version of this for Kagato makes an interesting choice to his voice always has an echo effect. It's very strange.
So it's like the reverse of how anything in Dragon Ball is done these days.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a strange echo. I'm like, is this just for when he arrives? And I'm watching like, nope, it's the whole dang time. He's just got to echo whenever he talks. I'm not sure if you noticed, because there are a couple of things. Oh, he shows up, blah, 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 threatens the girls, attacks Ryoko and like takes over her mind entirely. Sort of thing.
Yeah, which I didn't know was a thing that she was succumbed to. Like, she's kind of mind controlled by this guy.
Well, yeah, the implication is that she was when she attacked Jirai.
Yep.
Oh, I must have missed that or just forgot about that whole detail.
Right, because we see her with, red glowing eyes, which of course is just, a villain sort of thing, but it's like her eyes also like glow a different color here. They're green.
Yeah.
When being controlled by him. And when he takes control, it's like her gem kind of flashes that green color and then she gets taken over. So he's having an effect on that. And at that time, she had 3 of them. So can assume maybe like the control was a bit more. But yeah, so Ryoko, not actually a bad person. She was all doing this because she was controlled by Kagato, which is wild.
Yeah, and as Mr. Fusion has pointed out for us, that cat, Ryoko didn't kill that cat. I mean, technically, but the cat is reborn as Ryo-Ohki. So really, she hasn't killed anyone of her own volition, as we can tell.
Yep.
Wow. What was the whole deal with her attacking Tenchi in episode 1, though? Does that flow? I mean, I'm probably just forgetting things, but does that flow with her whole story of actually loving this guy?
It's just blowing off some steam, and she wasn't actually doing anything to harm him, because here in these episodes, we learn how powerful that she is, that really, if she wanted to kill him, she would have done it instantly. There would have been nothing stopping him. So it's just for fun. And of course, she loses. She's like, oh, well, whatever. I'll just go see you at home. It's like, okay, just being playful,
So is it about now that Nobuyuki shows up?
You mean Katsuhito?
Who are these names?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to say Yosho.
Dad.
We find out he's Yosho.
That's right. So Tenchi has the sword. He tries to attack Kagato. It doesn't really work out. So Kagato's going to take the sword, and all of a sudden, just zooms over, and Katsuhito catches it. Like,
blew my god! Not that, but yes, that actually not. Oh, that didn't blow. That didn't blow my mind. But that was like the biggest like fist pump. Like, yes, let's go, Grandpa. Let's go. Let's do it. And then when he reveals that he's actually Yosho, I'm like, wait, what? This whole time?
Oh, you forgot or didn't know?
I never knew. Or I forgot from what back when I again. I thought this show was just a slice of life, Gilligan's Island type show. I didn't know there was a plot going on. So I'm like, I just thought he knew stuff like about ancestry. I didn't know he was actually Yosho. That's such a great.
Because I felt when we recorded last, we were all dancing around it.
Yeah,
you were enough where I didn't understand exactly.
Good, because I wasn't sure if you remembered. And I didn't want to.
Not at all. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, they have the same color eyes. Yeah, it's just his ancestors, so that's funny. And like, oh my god, no, it's not just the same color; it's the same eyes.
Mm-hmm. It's so dope, just the way that the sword floats over, and you're like, where's it going? Because the camera follows it until then it shows him catching it.
Yeah.
And then activating it. It's like
I truly think that for as far as we are into the show, I think he's the most interesting character.
Oh, yeah.
Everything he's had to go through, and then like how he's just a total 180 attitude-wise all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot.
He's still perving on Ayeka. Like, we could still get married. It's like, get out of here, old man.
There's a couple of really cool things from this fight. First of all, Tenchi actually does get a slice in on Kagato, and it cuts
right
his
in the cheek.
But then it just disappears, which is the thing to remember for later.
Oh, okay.
But then, he easily defeats Tenchi now. Yosho's got the sword and attacks him. There's a thing in this fight that I never noticed in the 20 years that I've been watching this show.
Really?
Is that they're fighting around Funaho, the tree that Ayeka brought up last time, which was Yosho's ship, and it's taken root. is that the things that they're like hopping on and things that are in the water around them are pieces of the hull. I never noticed that that's like actual ship parts sticking up out of there from the crash.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because there are similar things in Ayeka's ship and things that it's like the same shapes. Like, oh, that's super rad. I love that.
But I gotta say, I love battles like this where it's like first you see Tenchi fighting him and he's of no use to him at all. But then the big boys come to play, and like the masters of their craft come and start battling. It reminds me of like Naruto whenever like the third Hokage goes up against Orochimaru. It's like, oh, these is what seasoned veterans that are master of their craft can do, and their fight is so cool. Like I love seeing that.
Or Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And not only is he good at sword fighting, but if you notice this little moving force field thing that's in front of him during that fight, so that's a Lighthawk wing, which we touch on later.
A lot later.
I also didn't notice. Well, I didn't, put the things together. Is that that's not him? They're fighting literally just around his tree, and the tree is still alive. And Jiraiya's ships can create Lighthawk wings, so that he's pulling that from the tree to make that. Because
he's stronger when he's around it, I guess. Is that what you're saying? Or you're not saying the tree is putting up the barrier for him. You're saying that he's...
Yes, it is. So how Jiraiya's ships work is they have a certain number of Lighthawk wings that they can generate dependent on which generation they are. The further down the line, the less Lighthawk wings you can make.
You're getting deep.
I am. And they don't really explain this super well, but it comes into play here. And also the sword he has is the Master Key. That is the thing that operates the ship. Which is why Kagato's after it. His is a Master Key, which can operate any generation ship. Meanwhile, like Ayeka's can only do like her generation of ships and lower. Master Key, Tsunami and below. So can control Funaho and do all that. So that's directing it so that he can use a Lighthawk wing to protect himself in this fight. Because normal people can't make those.
Is that all information in your DVD Tenzenshu collection?
I can't remember if it's in there or if it's in a thing that was called 101 Secrets, which was basically an interview book with Masaki Kajishima while after OVA 2, I believe, came out. Just like, hey, here's a whole bunch of like little tidbits and things. It's, the Daizenshu of the show.
And they just gave you Randy the secrets?
They gave me all the secrets, man.
Nice, dude. And
there's also other stuff, because there were light novels that came out after OVA 2, which I just picked up the last two today. So I'm going to be reading those after we get through OVA 2 and gobble up all of that information and see what's there and what I had forgotten. So what was it? Yosho, in the middle of the fight, just chucks the sword straight into the tree and just does the, like, I don't got it.
Not me.
Now, this turns into like a sword in the stone situation, right? Is that no one can pull it out unless they're worthy?
Yeah.
Until they've been chosen by the sword as its new master, I suppose. Yeah.
But right before he does that, he cuts off Ryoko's hand, who's like kind of chasing him. Does that have any significance of like regarding the jewel shard that's in her wrist? Is that just gone now? Is down to 2 or 1?
So he's cut her hand where, is that the real gem or the fake one? Because I know that she forgot about those.
Yeah, I had trouble keeping track of gems in these 2 episodes.
I would assume if it was the real one, she gets it back somehow, because cuts off her hand, the gem goes flying, and then, of course, since she's no longer attached to that, the control is gone, so she's back to herself.
I thought how badass it would have been if like he cut it, the jewel's kind of in the air, and then when Yosho throws the sword, the jewel kind of falls in this. Like, that's why he throws it on the tree, like to kind of catch it and get it stuck in the tree, but I don't know.
No, still just got the 2 still stuck in there.
Okay.
But yeah, so now Ryoko is broken free of that control. No hand, but of course, whatever. She can regrow them again. That's not a big deal for her. And Kagato goes over to like, okay, well, I'm just going to take this now.
I love your rendition of that, Randy. I'm just going to go get this now. Thank you for that.
Grabs it, electrocutes himself. I do love the arced lightning between his fangs and his like lower teeth. There's also a moment here in this whole fight where you see like Kagato's hand like move forward and there's no body, like it's just his glove floating off and doing things.
So the cell animation error, or
no? So that's a thing. I'm sure you notice. We'll talk about in episode 6 that shows up, but he doesn't have a body below his neck. Like, it's not visible. It's all invisible, or just like controlling it with his energy sort of thing.
I'm recalling that now, but still confused as to what, how or why.
Well, he's like 5,000 years old, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And a pretty special thing overall, alien, whatever it is. I was doing some research. I was like, oh, whoa, that's right. That thing happens later. And like, there's a whole thing in the light novels about his origins. So it's like, all right, we can touch on that later once we've learned some more.
Yeah, maybe episode 7 type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, at 7 or later. So now the sword's stuck in there. Kagato is like, fine, screw it. I'm taking Ryoko, though, and I'm going to figure out what to do here. And Tenchi gets the sword, acknowledges him. This stupid thing where he pulls it out. He's like, yeah, and then it turns off. And he's like, oh, crap, I can't get it to turn on. And that's
it even has the sound, like, just of him shaking the sword, like, come on, turn on.
And now we have Mihoshi, who is like, yeah, I'll come with you to help get Ryoko. And Tsunami kind of like has to talk Ayeka into coming along. I assume because she's doesn't care that much about Ryoko, but also like,
well,
Kagato
she's stunned.
Is a thing.
No, she's just stunned that Yosho is alive. That's the whole thing. I don't think she's really thinking much beyond that.
Yeah. We get a little bit of like, we have to imply like inferred lore here because she like brings up like Jirai has a life tree and water, and without it, Yosho will die. So if Jiraians have access to that, they're functionally immortal. Like they're never going to die of old age, which is neat.
That's my read.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Which is why he's like so old.
Right.
He's still alive.
Yeah, but he's still, 700 years old? Yeah, that he hasn't had his tree. So he has a long tail that's going to go on for a while.
Yeah.
You'll die. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've only got 3,000 years left in me. Like, oh no, that sucks.
But this conversation where they're all deciding I'm going to go help Tenchi and go with him kind of confused me because at the end, Sasami's the one that stays behind and watches over Grandpa, or just I guess just stays behind, right? Because it was like, Ayeka, you stay behind and watch Grandpa, but then it cuts to the reverse.
Well, I was going to say, they also do drop all the lore about why Yosho left Jirai in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Because there would be a fight over the throne because she is full-blooded Jiraiyan. And granted, he is born first. He's half human because his mother was human. So he's like, I left.
He decided, I'm not coming back. Like, this is it. Like, he left.
Yeah, I'm going to go fight Ryoko. I finished that, and I'm like, I'm not going home. I'm actually just going to stay here.
Yeah, wow. This poor girl, then, she spent 700 years looking for him, and he didn't want to be found.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he didn't know either. I was like, oh, I thought you would have moved on. Like, he even says, like, your heart still aches for me or whatever. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I do like that. This conversation of, like, these people actually do know each other. So it's suddenly like, oh, we have a history versus like, oh, you're just the grandpa of this dude that I'm hanging out with.
Yeah.
Like, oh, crap.
It changes everything. Like, literally my mind is blown. Like, wait, what? It makes sense how he was able to stop Ryoko's punch in that earlier episode, just like with no problem. Oh my god!
Like, lady, I killed you before. So.
Yeah, like whenever Ayeka's like asking questions, like, how do you know that technique? Is like, I gotta go check on the oven still on. See you later.
So Ryo-Ohki has a thing. She's like, oh, I gotta go scream at this lake that's bubbling up and.
Yeah, why is Ryo-Ohki doing that? Like,
I
what's
don't
the
understand.
Instinct.
Right. Like, is he using the force and lifting Ryuo, like Ayeka's like main ship component thing, out of the water, or is it doing it on its own? And then Ryo-Ohki is going to do his thing. Either way, he jumps up and transforms into a ship and absorbs Ryuo into it. Yeah,
that was the way I kind of wrap my mind around this, is that this is Ryo-Ohki's first transformation into a ship in this incarnation. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it needed to like siphon off of Ryuo to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's unclear because it's not a thing that's ever needed later on. She just transforms into a ship and everybody gets in and it's totally fine. Because they're not even in Ryuo when they're on there. They're in Ryo-Ohki, and then, Because
then Tenchi gets sent over to Ryo later by himself. Right.
So that way they could actually do things. Because Ryo-Ohki is unable to do any sort of attacks. Also because Mihoshi gets it drunk, which I do just love.
Yeah, that was so great.
What are you doing? I'm sorry. I just don't really have very much to do.
It works to their advantage because Nagato, or what's his name? Kagato is so much like, I know that ship in and out. I made it, so you can't trick me. And it's like, oh, I'm not expecting this drunkness. I can't
dodging all of the lasers.
Their moves because it's just drunk.
He's like, what incredible dodging techniques.
Yeah.
It's just like using, drunken fist or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so funny.
So then their whole thing is like, okay, we need to do something in order to defend ourselves. So they bring up, oh, we could use the Lighthawk wings from Ryo to help do this. It's mostly a defensive thing, but we can use it to attack. I think it's very odd watching it again today where Ayeka brings this up and then she's like,
Yeah.
I'll go do it. And Tenchi's like, no, I have to because this is my fault. But I have to go there and you have to tell me everything to do.
And
I don't know what I'm doing.
No idea what I'm doing. What? Just let her go then. Why did you go? Yeah. On my second viewing, I'm like, why did you go?
So he goes down there. They do the whole whatever, figuring out how it is. He's manipulating the sword, like floating in front of him to open these like 3 wing things that is like twisting and blocking all of these laser attacks before it makes like a really cool shield thing and then like an energy ball to chuck at Kagato and his ship, the Soja.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't go great. Not able to block it. The blast still goes through and hits right into Ryo, blows it up, and Tenchi is dead, presumably.
It's a real Bardock and Frieza situation where he throws a small blast and Frieza just over encompasses that blast and
I
sends him back in time.
I do love this, but also it's like, that's kind of weird, but sure, whatever. Is that Ryoko has been captured. So they are going to go save her. She is stuck in an hourglass, like covered in sand, can't move. Tenchi gets exploded. She screams in fury and grief, and then is able to escape on her own.
Well, even Ayeka's mad about that. In the next episode, she's like, why didn't you just do that earlier? We came here for you.
And because of that, now he's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, she can breathe in space, goes out looking for him, finds the towel he had wrapped around his head covered in blood, and then, tells Kagato that he will pay. And that's kind of where episode 5 ends.
And both like in the dub, Patricia does a great job of like that anger, like, I'm gonna get you. Like she screams, like, yes, let's go. Like you feel that.
Does Ryoko ever say that she explicitly could have gotten out of there at any time?
No, it's just the thing later on, like Doug said, where Ayeka says, like, you could have gotten out. Why didn't you do that? Because of that, Tenchi is gone.
Right. And does she reply to that?
No, she just has the bloody towel and just like,
yeah.
Okay.
She's just like,
So,
doesn't matter. I'm going to take out Kagato.
like she was
I don't know
aware
if
she could do it. Maybe
these are like real things that happen, or if this is just like an old wives' tale. But you ever hear like about mothers who can like lift cars when their children are trapped?
Yeah.
So it's probably just something like that. Like
absolutely.
she really couldn't have gotten out of there until she saw that happen to Tenchi, and then she
Mama's
got out.
coming, little Billy. I love you. Tell me you love me, mommy.
I was watching, like I said, I watched the Tsunami airing, and this was, at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon on weekdays. And of course, there are edits here and there. And I thought that I remembered the towel floating in space in the broadcast version not having any blood on it. There's significantly less, but there's still blood there. So I'm like, oh, okay, we left some in. Interesting.
There's just an amount. There's just excessive. It was an excessive amount of blood on the towel anyway. Like you can get the message across any blood, really.
We had blood in Dragon Ball Z at the time, and
Yeah.
surely Gundam Wing.
Well,
Yeah.
I also remember, and then maybe I'm wrong here, is there's an episode of Outlaw Star that they aired where Gene gets shot and then acts like nothing is wrong. And then like Jim puts his hand on his back and then feels it. And then we look from a point of view and look at Jim's hand. And in the broadcast version, it's just a hand. And he goes, oh no, Gene, are you okay? Like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, oh, it's supposed to be covered in blood because he's bleeding from a gunshot he just got.
That's funny.
But, I could have been wrong. That's fine. Let's see. Did I have anything else here written? Ryo, 3 Lighthawk wings. Yep, did that. Soja, more powerful than 3 Lighthawk wings. So you can remember that. Because I was able to defeat that. And then, Ryoko frees herself in grief and all of that. I don't know, guys. Really great episode. A whole lot of lore dumps. Really cool action. Some great, character interactions there. And, like, seeing characters who have evolved outside of these, like, month and a half that it's been since our last adventure, like you said, where Ayeka and Ryoko are voluntarily in the bath together rather than at each other's throats.
I mean, it takes alcohol to do that, but she's still there,
She's making it work. Any final thoughts on this episode, guys?
Animation-wise, between these 2 episodes, and in fact, probably across all of them that we've seen so far, this one feels a little bit weaker, which is still to say, like, this is still strong 90s anime quality, but in comparison, the character work feels just like a hair behind everything else.
I think I know what you mean. Like, just a hair. There are some shots here and there that are like spectacular looking, but
especially compared to episode 6.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. which is far and away super great. It's that last shot of Ryoko when she's, furious and swearing that Kagato's going to die. Like her face is entirely off.
Yes,
but
that's the one I'm looking at too right now. Like it's a little off.
If we watched it in standard definition, I'm sure it would have looked passable.
On a CRT, yeah.
Right?
20 feet away.
There's also that one thing where Yosho is walking towards Kagato and Kagato's descending further in the background and he's talking, but we can see that he has no lip flaps the entire
I didn't
shot.
notice. I didn't notice that.
I noticed it all 3 times.
Oh, yeah. Just in general, there were times watching this dub where they just didn't give a damn about what the lip flaps were in that situation. And that's okay.
Yeah, there's a part in episode 6 that's like, clearly the lip flaps did not matter here, but like, what could you do? There's so little you could do for one part. So
I prefer that though. Get out the actual line you want to get out as opposed to just trying to match the lip flaps. If you have to sacrifice that, that's okay as long as you get the story out.
You guys ready to move on to episode 6?
So ready.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet, because we are here. We need Tenchi, which came out March 25th, 1993. And to catch you up on exactly what happened, here we go. Ryoko, driven by the grief of losing Tenchi, storms Kagato's Soja with Ayeka and Mihoshi to get rid of him once and for all. Mihoshi accidentally frees another of Kagato's captives, Washu. She's a Galaxy Academy professor and the mother/creator of Ryoko. They watch as the battle ensues with even the powerful Jirai ship Tsunami joining the fray. All hope is lost before a newly resurrected, or just saved, Tenchi arrives on the scene wielding the mysterious Lighthawk wings, swiftly putting an end to Kagato's reign before returning home to an even more chaotic house. Oh, man.
So Tenchi dies. That's the official stance if we got a podcast, right?
Oh, yeah? Okay.
That's what I would say. I was writing this and I was like, let me go check, because maybe he didn't and he just gets saved, and there's no consensus.
The 2 law guys aren't like keeping him in stasis or whatever, like of the last breath he has, or...
I don't know what they're doing because they're just
at the end of the day, I don't care. Like the end justify whatever's going on here.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's cool as heck and very stylish, and altogether just what Tenchi is all about.
Did this episode start with like differently, like with like credits or whatever that I couldn't read? Obviously, I don't know Japanese or anything, but what does that mean? Like, it feels like this is like the last episode of the entire series.
Right. I mean, it's technically the end of OVA 1. It's just that this whole thing did better than expected. So they didn't really have a lot of plot to go on to start doing OVA 2 right away. So then episode 7 was done a little bit later in between, just kind of fill the gap, because it isn't really plot heavy at all. So this is kind of the end, but then we have like an epilogue sort of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no opening theme. We just have, I believe, just our creator credits right at the start, and then we're just going right into it. Ryoko gets back on Ryo-Ohki and sets on a plan with Ayeka and Mihoshi. Like, we're going in there and we're saving that, or we're kicking Kagato's ass for killing Tenchi.
She takes the jewel out of her wrist or whatever, and then like
off her ear, and then puts it in her other wrist.
So where did that one come from? Yeah. That's where I'm like, what is that jewel?
In the first episode, when she's fighting Tenchi, she has 3 of them, but they are all fake ones that she had made from basically drawing on the power of the dry tree Funaho just outside, and like her own, what she could muster of herself, from what I've read years ago. And I could be wrong, but if I am, let me know. Shout at me.
So they're like Fullmetal Alchemist, Philosopher's Stones, fake Philosopher's Stones, where they're still powerful, but that's not the real thing.
Right, exactly. So she had one cut off her wrist in episode 1. So that's one fake one. So she had 2. She replaced that with the real one from Tenchi's sword. And then I don't know which one got cut off and how she got it back in episode 5. Yosho. But she's always got one on each wrist and one on her ear as an earring. So she takes the one off of her ear, puts it on the other wrist. So now her suit is complete. It's got the other red half. Makes like a black like face paint thing on one side.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, but I don't care because it's awesome.
It just looks cool.
Right. I mean, not even just the look, but like, why is it transferring power from your ear to your wrist different? But whatever, it doesn't matter. It gives you a cool outfit. Awesome.
Again, it just whips ass.
Yeah.
All the 3 outfits do. The ones that Ayeka gets and that Mihoshi get. Well, I mean, we've seen the Mihoshi one already, right? Is that the one she had in episode 4?
I don't think so, but it's a whole different outfit, but still like resembles the Galaxy Police. But what is Ayeka wearing? I'm like, did I miss a scene where she transformed into a Catwoman or something like that?
Yeah, she's got like 3 stripe things on her face. She's got, a headdress thing. Her shoes are incredibly long.
Yeah, especially when she got lifted up. lifted by Kagato. I'm like, whoa, is she smearing her feet or what is that? But yeah,
her shoes are very long.
I thought I missed the transformation scene because she just shows up like wearing that. But I guess this is like a Jirai like battle stance or whatever, battle clothing.
Yep, because Tenchi shows up with that later.
Yes,
and we kind of get to see he gets like a henshin sequence into that in OVA too. So one assumes Ayeka had that, but like we just gotta go. Like we're gonna go there, and then they get on the ship and they're all in their battle outfits.
And that's one of the really great things about the show is that something like that happens. Ayeka suddenly wearing this thing, but you can kind of glean from seeing Jiraiyan technology and glimpses of Jirai already what that is. You don't need to have someone stand there and exposit to you what she's doing or why she's doing that. And then to have Tenchi show up in a similar outfit later, you just fill in the blanks for yourself. Yeah.
Yes. It's great.
Yeah. It's very well written, and the economy of the time that we've got.
Yeah, that seems to be coming up a lot lately in the anime world.
Shh. The next note I have is about Sasami running on Earth for Tenchi to not die. So she's pleading. She knows that it's happening, or has died, or what have you. She trips, falls, and then shows up at Funaho's tree. Does like an incantation, heaven to earth, earth to ocean, ocean back to heaven. Show me the path engraved by the light, and then she just gets absorbed into Funaho.
I already pretended he didn't know the whole entire incantation, but then says it.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking
3 times.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, I didn't see Randy look away to read that off.
Yeah, he did. He looked straight at the camera and said the entire incantation, along with the hand movements too. He was
Yeah, I did. The jutsu and everything. It all worked out. I've actually been absorbed into a tree.
Nice.
If you're not watching.
Not to get into like future spoilers maybe because I don't even fully remember. I think there's some like special Sasami stuff about her, but is she able to sense it because at that point Tenchi had been the chosen one of the key?
It's a good question.
Maybe.
There's clearly a connection between her and Tsunami, and we don't really have an explanation of what Tsunami is other than it's a ship. So there's some stuff later that we can maybe theorize about.
One of those things where these things like don't really bother me at all, just because like there's a lot of weird alien stuff that we don't know about, because they keep introducing weird alien stuff that we don't know about, but then giving us answers. So whenever stuff like this happens, I'm like, okay, I don't know this, but they're specifically not telling me for reasons. Maybe.
Yep.
But still, I can trust them.
Yeah, everything kind of works together, and you'll just be explained it later. All these Chekhov's guns do get fired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do. And if they don't, you can kind of figure out what would have happened if it had been fired, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep. It has an internal consistent logic, which is, pretty good for that. So they storm the whole ship, which is like there's just these random like head things that like fire guns out, and just a really quick thing of like Ryoko blasting them with her hands, Ayeka punching straight through them.
A Kamehameha, like she does this, but then like at the end you see her like actually literally do that. Like, oh, that looks so cool. Get the smooth animation with it too, just makes it look even better.
Yeah.
The wind up for it before she does it.
Yeah,
so slick.
God, it's cool. And then we've got Mihoshi just like trying and like shooting things in the head.
The juxtaposition to like really badass Ryoko, and then the Ayeka just like, flying and punching. I don't know if she can fly either, but she's like, ja, boom, and then she's like, leave me, don't touch me. Mihoshi.
She's so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So they're
she's
like,
doing her best.
We've gotten here, and we're gonna go straight to the throne room because every way that we go is gonna lead straight to him. And then Mihoshi gets a bit lost, and then like she bumps her butt into the wall where she's got like a bunny tail sort of thing, and then the bunny tail transforms into that cube from episode 4, and then it bounces and disappears, and then she gets turned upside down under the floor. She can't see Ryoko and Ayeka, but just keeps going.
Yeah,
it's just so imaginative and like, what?
Yeah,
okay, sure.
It's like, okay, again, one of those things that I don't care. That doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, no, I'm here with it.
Right.
Yeah, and they do explain where she is. But even then, they're just like, yeah, you're here.
Yeah, you're in this dimension. You're in the upside down.
But that's not for another like 10 minutes. So you're just like, what happened there?
Which is good.
It's like, sure.
Why not? You can still determine because you see them both walking together, but upside down.
Such a great shot.
Just storytelling without having to tell, without exposition. It's just like, no, just look at it. This is what we're telling you what's happening.
They arrive, and I have to say, Kagato just being the most villainous thing of like, well, my enemies are coming. I better get up and go sit at my organ. And play
It's
some
so
tunes.
good. It should be so cheesy, but it's so good. You're like, yes.
And when he does finally stand up from that organ, I'm like, it's playing too long.
Yes,
after
yes.
he's gotten up.
I like to think that
Put
like
something
even,
to like on that foot pedal to make it extend
guess.
just a little bit
Yeah.
longer as he gets up away
I
from
think it's a whole meta thing where like he knows the editors will fix that in post or whatever. And he's just like they cut that he does sit there the entire time hitting the button, but the editors decide to cut early as he's walking up.
I'm like, yeah, this is kind of diegetic music, I guess.
Speaking of the editing, there's a really good thing where when Ayeka and Ryoko get up, there's a shot of their feet coming to the top of the stairs, and then like he welcomes them. And then we cut to Mihoshi walking up, that same shot, and then standing there, and like some sort of magic thing starts up, and she's like, I don't know, we were all going here, and they're not here, and I don't know what's happening. And then like these snake statues behind her wake up, and then she's dodging them and, reading them their Miranda rights.
Yeah.
And there's sound effects when she's kicking them. Just very Saturday morning cartoon. It's great.
So great. But she's doing a good job. She's like freezing him with like whatever freeze gun she has. Like
right.
fist.
She's so watching it in both English and Japanese. It's very funny. Like the Japanese is just straight reading them their rights of like, you have a right to an attorney and like anything you say, whatever. In English, she's doing that, but she's kind of screwing it up. And then she's just like kind of going on her own stream of consciousness. She's like, and I guess it'll have to be attorneys who handle snake cases. Like, makes me laugh. And it's just like, all right, that's done. And then they start to break free of their ice. And she's like, please stop. If you do this, like, it's going to be way worse and I have to put you in jail for longer. She gets out her cube. And in English, she doesn't really explain what she's doing. She just says, like, this has to do something or whatever. And she's doing a Rubik's Cube sort of thing. But the Japanese subtitles explicitly say that if I can do this right, I should be able to get a more powerful rifle so I can take care of these guys.
Oh, she does say that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't
We know for a fact a lot of ad-libbing goes on in dubbing studios. Like there's the whole famous Berserk thing, that whole scene that was ad-libbed, and they put it in the DVD extras. There's the whole Spike Spencer thing as Shinji in the final episode of Eva. And so I wonder if some of this Mihoshi stuff was just ad-libbing. They're like, this is gold, put it in.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's too good.
Yeah, she's a goofy character, just be goofy kind of thing. And
yeah. And we're only left to like interpret like what this cube does because she uses it to like manifest different things. So it's like, is it just like summoning things from different places? But it also moved her to this underside of the ship sort of thing. So it's like, whatever. It's somehow far and away magical technology. But instead of summoning a rifle, there is a person stuck in a crystal behind her that has like some sort of snake seal thing, cracks it, and eventually, just as the snakes are about to attack, this girl just walks out and freezes them in place and shatters them into pieces and then brings up Ryoko, who's turned into stone during this whole fight with Kagato. We skipped that whole part because I got really excited about Mihoshi. When they fight, Ayeka immediately calls Kagato a scumbag and flies at him to punch him. Stops her and is like, hey, there's a force field here that, reverses everything, so you're not going to be able to do jack to me. And then immediately gets blasted by Ryoko and then
I don't need
stabbed through the neck.
Force field, what?
Yeah.
This is also like a subtitle dub change in this too, which I'm not sure which I prefer more, but it is like where in the dub, Ryoko and Ayeka are standing off and Ryoko says, Ayeka, don't go after him or something like that. Like, he's mine. And then she goes, Ayeka goes anyway. But in the sub, she's just like, I think she just calls him a scumbag, right?
Oh, just Ayeka, you mean?
No. Ryoko says like, or like whatever she says, like, you son of a bitch. She doesn't address Ayeka.
Right.
And then Ayeka going, you feel it a little more because it's like she's like taking it upon herself. But with in the dub, it more feels like I'm not listening to you, Ryoko. I'm going after him, kind of thing. But whatever.
Yeah, she's got her own agency of like, I don't care what the plan is. I'm pissed too, so I'm going to take him out. So then Ryoko kills Kagato, but then, is like, oh, that was just his shadow, whatever. They want to explain for that. It's like, oh, that was just a fake me, and you should remember this, but, it's been so long, and you're rusty, and then grabs her by the neck.
In the dub, it insinuates that, like, you should have seen this shadow. You've seen the shadow a bunch of times, but in the sub, it's more like you can't tell reality from illusion.
Oh,
it's like a little more vague. I like the dub one better when it's just like,
me too.
You've seen my shadows. You're rusty. You can't tell.
Grabs her by the neck and she starts turning to stone, which is kind of a return to a conversation episode 5 when, he brings up that your form in this humanoid shape was just out of convenience. Could have been anything. I could have made you into anything. You could have been a stone. Would you have liked that? So now he literally does that, which is really great. The Japanese for when he drops her, I can't remember what it is. It's just kind of something like, well, now she's out of the way. But I do love the English dub of him just being very heavy, like, she actually looks pretty nice in gray.
Oh, yeah, she looks great in gray.
This Kagato is so good.
Yeah.
He's here to have party, like you said, Ken. It's so good. So back to Washu. She pulls Ryoko through the floor, and she is stone, taps on her, and then she turns back to normal. And we get this explanation that we're in the mirror underside of the ship. And I never noticed it until this time watching, but the black side of Ryoko's face is now the other side.
Yeah.
Which is so good.
So you have to think when they did that design, they did that just so they could show that off. And they were in the mirror world.
Yeah.
Right. That's what was my thought too. Then we get this whole big bomb drop of Washu bringing up, I'm your mom.
Also blowing my mind, like, oh my god, what? Like, also forgot all about that.
It's different in Tenchi Universe, so you might be remembering Tenchi Universe, in which there really is no connection between Washu and Ryoko. Ryoko's just a space pirate.
I don't know. I think it is this one, but no, yeah, it was. I was like, oh, okay, great. I love this. This is fantastic. Call me mom. It's like, no, I'm not calling you mom. When she first popped up on screen in that ice, I did the Leo DiCaprio thing. I was like, there it is. There she is. That's her.
That's right, because you guys were like, I know Washu is a thing. I don't remember when she shows up.
Yeah,
or why.
not at all.
And I'm like,
how did she get free? How did she get free from the ice? Was it because she was messing with the Rubik's Cube? Was Mihoshi messing with okay, and that did something? Because it was weird, the symmetry of like the snakes being in ice and then her also being in ice. I thought maybe that did something, but it had nothing to do with each other.
No, it was just, her playing with her weird galaxy cube thing.
I didn't read that.
Yeah. So she frees Ryoko from this stone thing, explains that she's her mother, and then just that really cool thing of like, is it because you want to save Tenchi? And then Ryoko just laser sword to her chin of like, how do you know about him? She's like, you know that whole thing where you know what Ryo-Ohki knows? We have that connection. So anything you do or have seen or felt, I know about. Like,
so
that's so
how does the Japanese handle the line where she says, and you've been thinking about doing this and that with Tenchi, haven't you?
It doesn't. It does a vague, like, what is it, Randy? Do you know it?
I had watched it and I didn't write a note about it, so I don't have that for you on hand right here and now. But
I noticed something, Ken, though. It wasn't as like dirty. It was very much like them blushing seemed weird to me in the Japanese sub of it.
She says your future with Tenchi was going to be so, and then just like ... and then Mihoshi's like, oh, she knows that much? So I assume it would have read better in Japanese for like how that conversation was going.
Maybe, but, I just like the joke of like, or not joke, just like you let your body go and your sexual prowess is lacking.
Poking her,
And Ryoko's like, wait, what do you mean like a visual psychological warfare? Your sex appeal, it's not that great anymore.
Your sex appeal, of course.
My body has stayed the same for 700 years.
The dub performance here was way higher tone than I remember Washu being, because before we did our interview with Patria, I went and watched for the first time Tenchi Movie 1, which I'd never seen before. And in that, Washu is in, I'm not sure the actor's name, but she was in her...
Vogt? It's V-O-G-T. I don't know.
That's probably Voight then. I don't know. No idea. But she's kind of like settled into her role at that point. And it's always interesting to hear actors... Like, if you ever go back to like the first Vegeta. Time Chris Sabat was doing Vegeta. Yes, exactly. And then versus what he is now. So, Doug, I got to stop podcasting with you. You and I are on the same page.
The same wavelength, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is different here earlier on, and she kind of settles into it. But, gosh, it's just so cute, especially with, her, Mihoshi bringing up like, oh, you were that student that was kidnapped by Kagato. all
Dude,
that time
yeah,
ago.
because I brought that up during Mihoshi's introduction. Like, she was like listening to the radio, or not, she was ignoring it, but in there, like, they're saying like a bunch of things that the pirate's done, and they bring up like the kidnapping of a student, and I threw that away. You guys didn't even like, did you guys remember that? And you just kept it quiet for my sake or whatever?
I explicitly brought it up. I'm like, and that's a thing that will come up soon.
I had no idea what you're talking about. But then also another Leonardo DiCaprio moment, I'm like, that's just, she's a student. It's her. She's like, no,
Well,
I
she's
look
not a
young,
student,
but
she's a professor.
Sometimes you can plan a series out and everything works.
I'm not used to seeing that because of Dragon Ball Daima all this time. I don't know, but I'm just not used to seeing this.
Sorry, you have to be the butt of all the jokes right now, Daima. My apologies.
Hey, it was the same when we were doing the Eva movies and we were finishing up GT, so something's got to
That's
give.
true. So there's this whole thing, explains we have this connection and that, Ryoko is free to go. She can go fight Tenchi and all that. But I just love the Washu of like, could you just once call me mom?
Yeah, it's so great.
Not even, just growls and leaves. Like, yeah, that seems like it. And then Mihoshi is confused, like, wait, she can go, but we can't? It's like, yeah, that was just her astral body, but we're stuck here. Like, you can't do anything. And we keep having this fun gag going back and forth of, like, Washu keep trying to explain to this poor girl.
Her having no idea what you're talking about. Like, she might get it. No, I don't know. I understand.
Where were you when they handed out the brains?
But why male models?
So then we have this really rad fight of Ryoko, who's come back to fight Kagato. And there is this interesting line in the English dub, like, Ryoko throws a blast through his arm and he says, oh, the shrew who is lost in the world of shadow has come back. And it's like, okay, that's weirdly
badass.
poetic. But the Japanese subtitles say, oh, that shrew who lives in the shadow seems to have brought you back. Like, oh, he's talking about Washu. Being like, okay, interesting.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There's a little differences there. Just this really sweet fight. Ryoko turns into like a giant stone version, like kaiju Ryoko.
Just totally
That's the one you wanna step
Ayeka
on.
Ray in the last Eva movie.
Yeah.
Well, then goes full Vegeta, grabs him in, the hand.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm just going to blast through that. I don't really care.
But she's holding back.
That's
'Cause of
true.
Ayeka.
Yes, which is so much character development and like, oh my god, this is such a great show.
Well, it's
I love
because
it.
Ryoko and Ayeka are realizing quickly they really don't have anything against each other than
Oh, you're right.
vying for Tenchi.
Right.
And I think also Ayeka realizing like, oh, Ryoko did not attack my planet. Kagato did using her. So like, I don't really have any ill will towards her anymore. During this whole thing, we've also been getting cuts to suddenly Tenchi is in this, like you said, this weird thing with Ayeka, with Azaka and Kamadake. And then this other girl with blue hair shows up and like goes in to like kind of kiss him, but then like assimilates with him. And then it just gets wrapped up in this energy.
Dude, my Saturday nights.
And Tenshi's reawakened. He's got like, this weird like light body below him and, meeting this girl, Tsunami. And brings up like, oh, I'm the computer unit for this ship. The actual owner is Sasami. Tenshi's like, that? Okay, sure. Why not? Why not? And we have this other cool mirror thing where we have Tsunami standing there in the water. And then in the reflection is Sasami. God, I love how that looks. And, Tenchi remembers, oh, crap, that's right. There was a dude who attacked us and killed me. Like, we need to do something about that. And Tsunami brings up, okay, they're actually over here. I can detect Ryo-Ohki. And when I've watched this for 20 years, I'm like, oh, like energy. Like, I can sense the key of this ship. Like, no, because the ship was destroyed. She's talking about the key to operate it, which is Ayeka's headband from episode 2. So it's like, okay. So she can read the signal because she's Tsunami. She is the beginning of all of these Jiraiyan ship trees. So she's got a connection to all of them. It's like, okay, well, the control for that thing is over there. So they must be fighting over on that ship.
But how did they get there then? Because they're on Earth right now, right? Because that's where the tree is? Well, I guess it's ship.
They're on Tsunami, which is her own ship. Sasami went into Funaho, which is connected to all of the other trees. So somehow this is how she gets onto her ship from here, is using that as a jumping off point.
Just said a lot of Japanese names, but I'm following.
I guess Tsunami is like in a parallel dimension or pocket dimension or something.
Yeah.
We don't really have a lot of explanation for what Tsunami is right now, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's just, no, she's just on a different ship, and they're just in space in front of Earth or whatever. And this was when I remembered Kagato wants Tsunami, which is a ship, which has a controller that he needs to use it, which is the Master Key. And he blasted Ryo-Ohki where Tenchi was and killed him. So if this whole thing didn't happen, the key is gone. So even if he got Tsunami, he wouldn't be able to use it because he doesn't have the key to operate it anymore. It's like, that was a really dumb idea on your part, Kagato. Why did you blow up that ship?
I'm guessing he'd figure it out.
Yeah. He figured it out, or he kind of gave up. That's why he left Earth with Ryoko in the first place, because he gave up on the sword. He's like, I can't grab it, so I'll have to figure something else out.
That's true. Like you had brought up before, Ryoko isn't fighting at her full strength because doesn't want to hurt Ayeka. And I had thought like, oh, Washu doesn't know that she doesn't have all of her gems, so she can't pull this off. But I'm like, wait, no, Washu has a connection. She would know.
She knows
exactly
everything. And because she knows everything about Ryoko, and Ryoko has a connection with Ryo-Ohki, does that mean Washu also has a thing with Ryo-Ohki?
I believe so, because there's a thing in like OVA 3 that
she really does know all.
Right. So Washu pulls Ayeka from the battle, like not just her astral body, her full self. So that way be like, all right, now Ryoko should be able to take out Kagato.
She's really betting on Kagato being killed, because otherwise they're just stuck there forever in that dimension.
Right. And then he, immediately shows up like spirit body while he's fighting Ryoko of just like, oh, nice, that was a good idea to do, but you know what? How about we run a little experiment? I'm just gonna blow up Earth. Isn't that gonna be cool?
Oh no, where your brother and sister are, and that I gotta admit takes me like a second. Like brother and sister. Oh yeah, that old man is her brother, isn't it?
Right.
Still throwing me for a loop right now.
And then he also takes control of Ryoko through her gems again. She loses all of her power, and that all gets funneled into Soja that he's gonna blast at the Earth. So like, well, they're screwed now, but then suddenly some more Lighthawk wings show up and deflect it, and then it turns out it's Tsunami, who has 10 of those suckers, which is the most you can have.
And cannons firing out of like zero space.
Oh, yeah. So cool. Yeah. Just like, well, they're just firing out of nothing, but you can see like a little bit of light illuminating that shows where they're coming out of. God, it's so cool. They had also brought up, I didn't catch this in the English version, but in the subtitles, that they cleared up that one thing from earlier where Ayeka tried to punch Kagato, and then he's like, oh, there's a force field that, like, any projectile attack is just going to get deflected. At some point in these subtitles here, they bring up, like, oh, Ryoko destroyed his force field. So at some point in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up. They're like, okay, well, we're screwed because now Kagato, using the power of Ryoko's gems and, like, his whole ship that he also created is, like, shutting down all of Tsunami's things, and like, well, it's mine now, and now I have everything. I got the princess, I got Tsunami, like I got Ryoko.
There's no hope for our heroes,
right? And then there's this weird thing where suddenly like his arm gets all floppy and then just gets cut in half.
Yeah.
And
Oh god.
I'm like, what was that? I mean, it was Tenchi, but like, what was that? What was that attack?
Man,
doesn't matter. It was cool as hell.
It was cool.
So cool. What a reveal of like, well, the dub ruins it because in the dub, it cuts to all the girls' like reaction faces and Ayeka says, Tenchi or whatever. But in the sub, it's just like, it can't be like the typical anime. Like, it can't be, I forget what it is in Japanese.
Masaka.
But, yeah. It's like, Masaka. Yeah.
Impossible.
The lip flap matches enough just to say Tenchi and kind of ruin the, but still you don't want to hear his name until you see him for the dramatic case. Yeah.
I also forgot. I know that we're just getting to the climax. That one part where Kagato takes off his glove and he doesn't have a hand and he like puts it onto Ayeka's face.
Oh, yeah.
And then they go into the dream sequence where he's Yosho and just like, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. How do I use Tsunami? It's like, what?
So funny and dumb. It's just like, so what are the secret codes to your base? Let me know. I'm your brother and you're naked. Let me know.
And then this like starts to pull her apart in a very strange, like disturbing ways.
Yeah, and then he makes a threat that I'm like, I don't know about where this is going.
It's again less sexual in the sub version. Like it is like, or do I have to do something else to your body to get it? But I don't think in the sub it's like that. It's just like, or what can I do? I forget what it is, Randy. I don't know if you remember what it is, but it definitely sounds less sexual in the Japanese
All I can
version.
hear is the English of like, is it your blood, Jirai royal family's blood? But I think that's before he fights.
That was a dark. Yeah, that was dark.
But so Tenchi shows up, and the dumbest thing, like Ryoko's like, is that you, Tenchi? And then the dub is, I'm no ghost.
So good though. Come on.
I love it. It's just like so goofy and just cuts the tension immediately.
It's like, yep, this is our hero.
In Japanese, he says, I have legs.
Which is funny just because the next scene where he doesn't have a leg.
There's like
it's kind of weird.
You don't see it, but clearly there's like a space portal he walked through, but his foot is still stuck in it. Like he sets Ryoko down. He's like, I've
is
got
that
this
what that
now.
is?
And then like, all right, I'm gonna hold on. I can't pull it out of this hole.
It must be some Japanese idiom or colloquialism
Maybe, yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
break a leg or whatever, and it must be just weirdly translated for us.
Right.
But all it really does is just give the opportunity for the log guys to kind of jump in and not do anything, but just to say like, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
It is funny in the Japanese version where Tenchi's like, take care of Ryoko for me, and they're just like, got it, dude. We'll do. Like as they're like disheveled on the back, like
Stuck on the wall.
And we haven't
problem.
really talked much about them, but I love how one of them inexplicably is from New York.
I'm using all of our power just to shield it. Like weirdly very the one guy from Home Alone.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci.
There we go.
Ken and I again picking the same guy out of the two.
That was the one that I wanted because that's the accent we're going for. So now Tenchi gets his foot free, pulls out the sword, does like a cool run around to go slice at him, and then Kagato.
But still to no avail. Like he looks like an amateur, like trying to punch him, and Kagato's just like, whatever, get this sword out of my face, don't punch me. Like you're like, how is Tenchi going to be able to beat this guy?
Mm-hmm. And then brings up like, all right, well, I've got Tsunami now. You can't use any power from her. And Tenchi just defeated. It's like, I couldn't do it even with this sword. And we get a cut back to him and Tsunami of just like, so long as I've got this sword, I can do it. And she says, don't do that. You got to trust in your own power. So then he stands up and throws the sword to the side. And Kagato's like, oh, so you're just giving up. Well, all right. Well, whatever. I'll just take care of you now. And then blast Tenchi, who then looks like he's just kind of surprised, like, oh, crap, I didn't expect that. Explosion. And just the coolest shot, we have it behind Kagato looking at the smoke, and then he turns to, like, be, smug about things. And you see just this light in the smoke, and then just, wait, what?
It's drawn and edited so well because it's like a blurry background, like a real
Depth of
camera
field,
lens
baby.
is pointed at them, but it's just a drawing, so it's just intentionally drawn that way. So awesome.
Tenchi's got 3 Lighthawk wings, and Kagato's like, you can't do that. I cut off all the power from the ship, and I thought about it as well. He also threw the sword away, so he does not have a connection to the ship, even if he could access it. It's just blown away like, wait, this is all you. And then just like 2 of the wings go over him and like turn him into a new suit. He's got one of them turns into a sword that looks super rad, by the way.
I love that. I didn't
yeah.
catch it till my third viewing is that, each of those 3 blades or whatever, those shields, has a point. Like 2 of them go into his arm and transform his body, his outfit, and then one turns into the sword. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is so freaking cool. It's great stuff.
One of them into a shield. He fights with that sword a bit. Like Kagato throws a whole bunch of gem things at him. He transforms the sword into like an energy boomerang and just throws it, hits all of them. So Kagato comes through the smoke. He's like, well, you're screwed now. You don't have a sword. And then Tenchi lets go of the shield and then grabs it and it turns into another sword.
So cool.
Oh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. They run it through each other. They slice. Tenchi's sliced in half, but then he just regenerates. And then, nope, Kagato's out. He's done.
Kagato's out, but you don't know until the last second because he's just like still calm and composed. He's just like kind of mad, like, you did it, man. You won, young boy. And then vanishes Thanos style.
There's an interesting thing here, which if you watched it in Japanese or in English, depending on where you're watching it from, I suppose, the subtitles have a weird mistranslation. And I had to look this up from a place, because I was looking up, like, did Tenchi die? Or was he saved? And there's no consensus here. But, someone brings up, what did Kagato mean when he said Tenchi can't be copied? Because he says, like, a few things after getting sliced. He's like, same name as the Master Key. Well done, Tsunami. Tenchi can't be copied. And then he congratulates Tenchi for winning. And so it's actually a mistranslation because the word for, like, that they're taking for copied can also just mean regeneration. So what he's actually talking about, these are all separate things, is that he couldn't have won because even from that attack, he's not going to be able to regenerate. Like he did that one slice on his cheek and anything else that Ryoko has been doing to him. So there's nothing about Tenchi being copied. which has been like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Unless this person is wrong on the internet here, which people are wrong all the time.
You got that from reddit.com. All right. Good source.
Well, it is a stack exchange.
Oh, very reliable then.
From 4 months ago. And they actually wrote out, all of the kanji and things here for like, what does this mean? I don't get it. But take that with a grain of salt or what have you. But I don't know. Makes sense to me.
It's the same kanji from the Ultimate Uncuts trailer.
Oh, God. My favorite thing is everything's all said and done, and Ryoko trips. Who is it? Ayeka?
Ayeka and Mihoshi. Because they're
right,
like, oh, Tenchi, yay, let's go.
I'm going to be the first one. And then turns around, and Ryo-Ohki's on his shoulder. And it's the cutest thing. She's just like crying and like talking to him. And he's just like turned and looking and just like, like really paying attention. Poor Ryoko just yanks Ryo-Ohki off of him, and all of a sudden, nope. Now, like, Washu is there introducing herself.
It's just great comedy timing and bits, and just like, I'm gonna go see him. No, I'm gonna see him. It's like you all lost.
I'm Washu. She says her name very strangely. Yeah.
Yeah.
She says, "I'd like to thank you for saving me from Kagato." Like, that was a weird way to say that.
Yeah.
But all right, sure.
But no, now Washu also has an infatuation for Tenchi, whether it be like for science or for love or whatever. But it's because he has like the hawk wings or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And Ryoko explodes at everybody because now everybody is there, like hugging him, and tells him to shut up before suddenly the ship moves, and then bring up, oh, I guess actually the ship got sliced in half at the end of that fight.
Explosion! All I hear is body parts go flying everywhere. They're all dead.
Just kidding. Now it's springtime and everybody's back home, and Azaka and Kamadake are guarding the front entrance and scare off the paper boy, even though they're just, thanks for the mail. Basically.
I like in the dub where it's like, thank you for working today, like the whole...
And then just, chaos ensues. Just random explosions or whatever, and they're like, well, and that's that.
Typical breakfast.
Right. Oh, God. Just comedy, action, wonderful. The coolest fights possible. I don't know what else you want from anime, guys.
I didn't know this show could go there. And just 2 episodes, too. Like, it's not like this dragged on for a long time. Just 2 episodes. No. It's beautiful. It's awesome. It's perfect.
And it's just how there's so many twists and creative turns that happen in these 2 episodes that you don't really see anywhere else.
No.
We've killed off the main character in episode 5.
Yeah. Dude, and as like a first time kind of viewer, like all these like twists and turns like really got me. Like I wasn't expecting Yosho to be there, and I wasn't expecting that to be the mother of Ryo. Well, I guess me knowing her ahead of time, being in the story, and then like the connection, whatever. But it's still like great. All this stuff was great as a first time viewer again. It was awesome.
Yeah. I'd be very interested to hear what everybody says who's also watching this for the first time, what their thoughts are on that, because, it's been a thing that has been a part of my soul for decades, that I can live and breathe this.
Why you wanted to get to these episodes too. I'm like, how do you surpass the bath house scene? How do you beat cinema? How. That's how.
And I was gushing a lot. I'm sure if I look at our waveforms, it's going to be like, well, it's mostly dense where I'm talking. So forgive me if I talked over anything where you guys wanted to chime in or what have you, but now it's your time to speak your piece. Anything else about episode 6 or just these 2 kind of as a whole? What do you guys have to say?
Well, I'm pretty much where I'm at before. I like these 2 episodes, but I'm looking forward to the slice of life that comes next, especially knowing some of the episodes that are in OVA 2.
Yes.
Like I said, I feel like this story could have ended here, but we only just barely got introduced to Mihoshi, and then we just got introduced to Washu, and I feel like they have such great characteristics about them that I want to see more of them. Like, if this ended right here, I'd have been like, great, done. Great anime. Wish I could have seen more of these characters, but that was great. The fact that we get more is gets me excited. I want to see more.
And it's nice because this episode offers no denouement. Is that how you pronounce that word?
Yep.
So leaving episode 7 to be nothing but that.
Oh, yeah. Dang,
where we literally just had the climax and then that's it. And now we just get a whole thing.
There's only 1 episode left too. Like, I didn't realize there were 7 episodes total until we started this podcast right here today. And you're like, 7 episodes. And we're like, what episodes? Like, wait, what? I remember so many more antics happening after this? Is that from the OVA 2 or from Tenchi Universe? I don't know.
So depends, what your memories are, Doug, because yes,
I remember
OVA
them
2,
looking the exact same way as they look now. So I thought,
yeah.
I don't know.
OVA 2 is episodes 8 to 13. And then we have, then Universe aired right after that on Tsunami, which then right after that, then they did Tenchi in Tokyo, and then they just started right back over again. And, those are all...
I really think I just saw the 2 OVAs then in my youth, that was it. But I remember it lasting for like years of my life. So I don't know if it's just reruns, and I didn't get to catch them all. I didn't like rush home to see Tenchi. So every time I saw the reruns, it was like new to me. You know what I mean? So, and like not in sequential order.
They advertised the shows separately. So they said, this is Tenchi Muyo, this is Tenchi Universe, and this is Tenchi in Tokyo on Tsunami. But yeah, if you weren't keeping track necessarily, you would just think it was a sequel series.
Yeah.
And Universe and Muyo look so much alike artistically that, if you're not in the forums or searching online, you don't necessarily know that you're in two separate continuities.
Does it take place in the universe? Because everything I remember is just on Earth.
So Tenchi Universe is mostly on Earth, and then they go to space for like the second half, because Universe is also 26 episodes. Tenchi in Tokyo is also 26 episodes.
Okay.
Doug, do you remember the swimsuit contest episode?
No.
Okay, that's in Universe.
That would have, yeah.
That one isn't on Earth, but, that does happen in Universe, and that's good stuff. So strap in, Doug, because there's more to go, and especially if people want to hear us talking more about this after episode 7, give us a shout out and let us know you do want us to do live-ish episodes, because I would love to keep going. That's what, besides just I love this show, I love talking to you guys about this. I love talking to Doug, because Doug has never really experienced this from beginning to end. And, people who are watching along with us, some revisiting it so many years later, some who are watching it for the first time, I was like, if we just stop after episode 7, I'm going to be so sad that those people have to like continue this journey on their own. And they're not going to have like one place to be like, hey, let's all talk about this thing that we're all watching,
The
it's
communal
like a little,
area.
Book club.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can tell, we were talking about this before we went live, but I can tell the audience, at least by YouTube metrics, the Tenchi episodes are performing better than our Daima episodes right now. So
I've not felt this excited about a series because we've been watching Daima so much. This feels weird, is what I'm saying. Like compared to talking about Daima before or after, it's like, yeah, this happens. Guess what? They're in space, but yeah, this is such a great, fresh show to watch. I'm glad we did this.
It saved our sanity and our mental health, I think, quite honestly. We did this at the exact right time.
And honestly, it's probably saved the show, too, and our relationships with each other.
Probably.
So guess what? From now on, new name. We got a Muyo. We got a pod, Muyo. No need for Muyo. We got a pod.
What does Muyo mean? Did I miss the Muyo part?
Or redundant or, things like that.
Yeah, so that's why episode 6 is called We Need Tenchi. Because it's a play on Tenchi Muyo, which is no need for Tenchi.
And then Tenchi Universe episodes are all called No Need for blank, like whatever their thing is going to be. So, yeah, that's it. Like, because, you're here for the ladies. There's no need for Tenchi. You just want Ryoko. Like, well, kind of. I do love Ryoko quite a bit. So that's kind of it there. You guys ready to jump into what other people had to say about these 2 episodes?
I would love to, but first we have to figure out what's been going on in the world of Dragon Ball, and Doug will fill us in on the world of the Backstreet Boys as well. So in terms of the manga, right now we are at the famous chapter where we get Son Goku appearing behind Son Gohan, the father-son Kamehameha. Just came out ahead of episode 6 of this. What's that?
What year was that?
This is in 1993. And in the anime, we are at the terrible Uchiyama episode 178, which of course is the predecessor to 179, which was my go-to episode of Dragon Ball, which we covered here on the main podcast as well. So, Doug, what were the Backstreet Boys street back
they
into?
In 1993, they had their first ever performance on Channel 6 News. And so that's the beginning of the rest of our lives right there.
Now, did they have Brian and David yet, or whatever their names were?
These don't look like any of these characters I'm looking at right now. Who is this old guy with a wig? I don't know. Maybe it's a different kind of Backstreet Boy.
Randy, let's get to those listener thoughts now then.
Alrighty, sure. So I'm going to start us off here with Jake J. Lunar, who says, instead of waxing poetically on how episode 5 and 6 are brilliant, he's correct, I simply offer stuff I like. Soja's cannons silently erecting menacingly. God, where it's like that one huge thing like pulls back and like the other things like
so opens up and
so intricate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Episode 5's sick as cliffhanger, where Tenchi is dead, Ryoko escapes, finds his, headband in space. God, that's super cool. Jump cut to raw ass combat gear. Yeah. Don't even show them. They're in here ready to fight. Love it. Wild shmup concept hallways. Yeah, they're like hovering forward, like they're on rails towards these enemies and blasting. Like Mihoshi is like dodging, but like the background is still moving.
Yeah,
it's like we're in Space Harrier or something.
It really is like a fun house. Like, and they explain like every path leads to him. So yeah, go on. Because they go separate ways, right?
Yeah. Gluten-free Ryoko / Kagato / Washu lore. Oh gosh,
what does gluten-free mean here?
I'm not entirely sure what he means, but it brings to mind a whole bunch of things that
they didn't have gluten back in 1993.
Yeah, it wasn't invented yet.
Sorry, gluten awareness.
No need for wheat.
No need for wheat.
And the big Tsunami reveal. Oh man, we get the full brunt of that. I think it's like the second episode of OVA 2 really gets into their whole thing.
I was going to say, because I'm still kind of confused on that, but I think that might be intentional.
It is.
Well, Jacob writes in and says, back when I watched these on Tsunami, these were the ones that hooked me. Made me feel like the show was going somewhere interesting. Or was going some interesting places. Watching again this time, it makes me feel like I should check out the newer stuff after this, but I've heard it's a mixed bag. So, Mystere Fusion has been watching ahead of the podcast, and things are grim, apparently.
Now, I will say, I love OVA 3. And when I first watched it, I hated it. But every time I've watched it since, I'm like, I really like this. And then I started watching OVA 4 a couple of years ago. And I think I got 2 episodes in before I'm like, I'm not even paying attention. I'm just on my phone. I'll turn this off and I'll do this some other time. But he says OVA 5 is better. It's a low bar, but it's better. So we'll see how it goes. And like I had mentioned before, this was started by 2 people, Masaki Kajishima and Ryo-Ohki. Maybe I got that name entirely wrong. Sorry, yeah. Hiroki Hayashi, who created the show. Hiroki Hayashi was part of the production for the first OVA. So after about episode 6, 7, he's out of the picture. He's doing other stuff. And it seems like he was kind of keeping things on rails, like that everything stayed how it was supposed to be. And then Kajishima just kind of like, let's just throw everything at the wall and do crazy stuff. Some of it works, some of it not so much. But there's definitely a change after this where it's like, all right, we're doing kind of weird and wild stuff. It's experimental. I like it, but sometimes it doesn't pay off.
Was he involved in Tenchi the Movie 2, Daughter of Darkness?
I don't think so.
Daughter of Darkness.
I believe Tenchi was in the rearview mirror by the time.
We've touched on this briefly, is that Tenchi Movie 2 is in continuity with the first 7 episodes of the OVA, but not anything past that. So when we will eventually have to watch movie 2 before we can go to the OVA, so we don't confuse ourselves later.
It is an adaptation of Midsummer's Eve, the 10th Tenchi Muyo light novel, which was written by Naoko Hasegawa, who also wrote the movie screenplay. And Naoko Hasegawa did write all of these things that we've been going for here. There's actually 2. I believe it's Naoko Hasegawa, and then it's, I just bought the other 3 of the light novels today. And there's a different screenwriter that also worked on the show. So this is one of them that, did this whole thing. But yeah, it's strange. The continuity for the movies is weird. Like movie 1 is universe. Movie 2 is like pseudo OVA lore that then gets thrown out later on. And then I believe 3 is also universe, but it's strange. It's weird. The movies are just watch them whenever you want. They're fun. And that's that. You'll be confused because there's a 6th girl that lives there that you're not introduced to unless you watch Tenchi Universe. But whatever. You just go with the flow. But yeah, Anything else there, guys? Those were our listener comments. No,
all
nothing
good.
else.
I do want to just say we kind of glossed over how great Washu was, and then just like even in this episode, I know we got the antics of her and me and Mihoshi, but just her on her own, just like bringing out. She's like, "What do we do?" And she's like, "Take one of these." Like, she starts cheering for them with like little fans, like "Go Ryoko, go go go!" And I forget another part's like, "There's only one thing we can do now. We gotta pray." And just like she's just full of like that comedy. Like you're supposed to be like the smartest person. I don't know, but like really smart. But it's just like, yeah, I'm that smart that I know we got nothing to do but cheer for them. I just love her.
Inexplicably, she has Japan-themed fans.
Oh, man. Randy, this is going to get deep lore.
Yeah, how does that whole thing work out? Well, she knows about Japan because Ryoko knows about Japan because she lived there for a few.
I guess.
Yeah.
But of the two other women there, they have no.
True.
What do they care about Japan?
And also, when Kagato shows up, Washu is very confident. She's like, "We're not under your control anymore. If you let us go, I'll let you go free." Like,
Let you go.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. Who wears the pants here? That's great.
Right. But then, of course, threatening to blow up Earth and stealing Ryoko's gem power, then it's like switches everything. And Washu's like, "Oh, crap. Like, that was my ace in the hole, and you've taken it from me." Like, oh, man. Yeah, Washu is a great character, and I love her. Ken's not going to feel great about our next episode, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we'll have some stuff to say next episode.
Oh, no.
That's true. Speaking of next episode, we're only covering one, and that's episode 7, but it's not just going to be us 3. We've talked about them a couple of times here. Lance/Myster Fusion joining us as a guest for episode 7.
Yes, dude.
Might
I can't
remember.
wait.
They were here to talk about GT episodes. Like 2 years ago now. Time flies.
Yeah,
Has
we
it
had
been 2 years?
we had caught up to Dragon Ball GT dissection at that point and figured it would be a great part to dissect where we were all at there.
See what you did there, Ken. Good job.
Right. But I'm excited for that. That's going to be a good one. Episode 7 is, I think, a bit longer than some other episodes. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. And it's our whole kind of wrapping everything up. And
So I shouldn't watch it only an hour left before we start recording.
I mean, it's not like 4 hours long or anything.
It's
Doug.
a double episode.
Gotcha. So okay.
Yeah, 43 minutes.
And if I'm gonna watch them both dubbed and sub, that should do more than an hour.
Yeah, you're going to need an hour and a half
lot of
to
time,
get through
yeah.
both of them. But it's going to be a treat, guys. I'm really excited for it. And let's just keep the train going. I love Tenchi. There is a need for him, and it's for our very souls. As normal people. But thanks for listening. We love interacting with you and keeping you in the conversation, talking about one of our favorite franchises. Now, I mean, Doug has realized that it's the best show ever, and we've been hiding it from him this whole time.
Yeah.
You can post at us on our Blue Sky. We're keeping it easy. You can find us at wegotapodcast.com over there. And of course, you can always email us at wegotapod@gmail.com.
You can find me at Jabaz Doug on the socials, and Ken.
Yeah, you can find me at Detective X. Randy?
And me at Saberbreaker, sometimes with an underscore in there, but give it a couple try, and you'll find me real easy.
The sexy underscore. I see you.
So guys, thanks as always for listening, and thanks for joining us on this kind of bonus podcast. I know I've said this before, but the Eva ones did not do half as good as these Tenchi ones have been doing. So it really does mean a lot to us as we go on a venture that's not necessarily Dragon Ball related. If you're not already subscribed and you're just here for the Tenchi stuff, hey, we're still talking about Daima, and we're making a conversation out of it. Maybe might shine some light on some stuff you weren't picking up on in that show. Make sure if you like this podcast, please review it, and I will save the rest of the spiel for the main show, and we'll catch you Matanator.
Bye.